They were typical high school seniors who spent their days sharing their love for horror movies and planning their futures. They were typical high school seniors who spent their days sharing their love for horror movies and planning their futures. As Halloween approached, the excitement in the air thickened. They were planning a movie marathon of their favorite horror flicks, but little did they know, one film would change everything. It was during one of their regular hangouts at Mia's basement, amidst the posters of old slashers and flickering lights, that Oliver brought up a legend he had overheard in the town's only video rental shop. "You guys ever heard of The Last Screening?" he asked, a grin playing on his lips. "It's supposed to be some unaired movie," Jason responded, rolling his eyes. "Just another urban legend." Quote, but the lure of the obscure and unknown was irresistible, and Oliver hurried to pull out his phone, navigating through YouTube until he found a short documentary about the film. The footage was grainy and eerie, depicting reels of film, old technicians, and VHS tapes strewn across a forgotten movie theater. It was supposed to debut in 1995 but was never shown. "Rumor has it that something horrible happened at the premiere," Oliver explained as the others leaned in, curious. The documentary detailed how people claimed to hear whispers and see shadows flickering in the corners of their vision during attempts to screen the film. Those who watched it suffered from nightmares, and some even disappeared entirely. The urban legend warned that the film contained a curse. It showed you your deepest fears before dragging you down into madness. The only copy left is hidden in the woods behind the Crescent Theater. Liz exclaimed, her eyes wide with both terror and thrill. "We should find it." For the sake of excitement and the edge of fear, the friends hatched a plan. Armed with flashlights, phone flashers, and a portable projector, they set off into the dark woods under the pale crescent moon. After several hours of wandering and laughing nervously over cubic feet of animated shadows, they stumbled upon the old theater, its doors hanging ajar and the marquee long dimmed. The smell of rot filled the air as they entered, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Inside, the walls were covered with decaying posters, and dust blanketed every surface. They spotted an old projection room above them, and with a small climb, they made their way up to find an unmarked reel amongst the wreckage. They rushed back to Mia's home, where they mounted their makeshift projector in the basement. "Okay, it's time," Mia cried excitedly. She dimmed the lights, and as they pushed the play button, the reel sputtered to life. The opening story was disjointed. A montage of grainy images. A family enjoying a picnic, then shadows creeping towards them, flickering warnings in the frames. The friends exchanged nervous glances, the thrill of courage waning as unease settled in. The film showcased images that felt too familiar, drawing on their past fears, weaved together in an unnerving narrative. When a blood-curdling scream echoed through the theater, they found themselves frozen. "Just a movie," Jason said, trying to rationalize it, but nobody could shake the mounting anxiety gnawing at them. As the film progressed, the atmosphere thickened. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to pulse, flickering in sync with the screen. Each frame unveiled not only their deepest fears but also personal secrets they never dared to share. Whispers filled the silence, taunting them, naming them one by one. Jason fell first, writhing on the floor, choked by unseen hands. It was as if the film had reached into him, grasping his insecurities. "Stop it," he gasped, but the screen demanded more. The laughter turned to cries, and the cries turned to silence. One by one, the friends descended into madness. Liz succumbed to a hallucination of monstrous clowns in her childhood room. Oliver disappeared, leaving behind only echoes of his voice begging for help. And then there were two. Mia alone watched as the reel continued, the images growing more distorted and horrific. But she felt a lure, a sick exhilaration at the fears her friends had endured. It was her powerful desire that grounded her, letting the terror engulf her slowly, painfully. "No!" she screamed, hands gripping her hair as the last frames began to unravel a dreadful truth. The film was unending. Each fear she faced manifested with devilish delight, a cycle feeding on itself. Desperation crashed against her will to endure, and in that haunting moment, Mia understood. They were trapped within the curse of the film, victims to their worst nightmares, unable to escape its relentless grasp. The projector flickered, and the screen went blank. The basement was quiet, the lights now dim. When her parents finally came home, it was to an empty basement and a flickering projector, the last frames perpetually repeating, doomed to play until the next curious souls would unwittingly step into the grasp of what was never meant to be seen, the last screening.